So my name is Scott Talley. I'm the Chief Bottle Washer at Network in Action, and super excited today. We're continuing to try to add more value to your membership. And so just to show you real quickly how you can keep up with all this stuff, we've made a couple little additions on the site. Y'all can see my screen okay? So when you log in to the site, in the top right-hand corner now, you can keep up with the extracurricular activities right here under National Virtual. Okay, so right here, and we will have all the speakers up by the middle of next week with a description. So they all start at 3 o'clock Central. They're all on Wednesday now, first, third, and fourth week. Network with the Nation on the first week. On the third week, we have our Sales Mastery. And the fourth week, we have a speaker series. Just to talk a couple of things coming up. We've got some great sales masteries. Samantha, I think she's on the call today. Mr. Lawless out of Austin. But let me tell you about this. So we're really grateful that you are here and looking forward to hearing you speak. These speaker series, I'm trying to spend more time beefing up our speakers. Try as hard as you can to be on in June and July. Robert Needham, Dr. Robert Needham is a NASA scientist. He's written 21 business books. He is the foremost authority in America on co-ops. And I think as a business owner, you'll find it interesting about how you can create really tight customer relations. He's an awesome speaker. You'll enjoy him. And on the 27th, Moose, help me with the speaker's name. We'll be talking about Bitcoin for business owners. So I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to Bitcoin. And we'll have a speaker. Moose, his name?
Sheldon Weisfeld.
Sheldon Weisfeld, and I heard
he's been involved in crypto since the beginning. I've known him for years. Super smart.
So be sure and check those out. Come to the ones you like. We're certainly grateful that you're here today to hear Tinnin. is a member of our group out in Nashville, Tennessee that Shannon runs. She's the founder and head coach of the sales coaching firm Skillway, and she's passionate about this. I was talking to a little bit before about, you know, I'm a guy that can't fix anything. I can't repair anything, but I know how to sell. I've had pretty good success selling. And so it comes easy to me, but it doesn't always come easy to everyone. And I always learn from people like Du. So we're really grateful you're taking some time to share us. Take it away.
I think that's great. And I appreciate you doing a quick introduction for me. And I will tell you that as we get into this and go further with it, I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can have a way to see what I'm talking through, and we're going to go through that. But today we're going to talk about how to increase your sales by leveraging your time. And I am, like, to say I'm passionate about growing business is an understatement. I have been a coach for more than 10 years in the sales space, and I grew up in sales. I was the kind of kid who, if there was a trapper keeper to win, then I was going to sell the fudge or the wrapping paper or whatever it took to get the it's amazing what I'll do for a $25 gift card. That's what I'll say to y'all. But like Scott said, I have a company. We are Skillway, and what we do is we educate and motivate relationship-based sales professionals. So we don't coach all industries. We don't coach all spaces, but we work one-on-one with sales reps, with sales managers and entrepreneurs. We're not industry specific. However, we only work with you if you're in the relationship-based sales space. So do you grow your business through taking really great care of your clients and going from there? So our clients actually call us their secret weapon. And they call us their secret weapon because we have a pulse on so many different sales teams across the country, in all industries. So it works out pretty well. Like Scott said, I'm in Nashville, and I have a little rug rat whose name is Peanut. He's kind of cute. So is my husband. I'm a fan of him too. And we have lots of fun here in Nashville. And at Skillway, we teach 3 primary areas about sales practices. The first area is your attitude. And that is because sales isn't just a numbers game. Sales is also keeping your head in the game. So I'm kicking today off with a quick sales quote on your attitude, that your attitude matters. And if you feel like you got out of bed on the wrong side of the bed and you're not doing awesome, well, guess what? What you need to do is get back in bed and then get back out on the other side, because attitude really is a choice. And that's the way that I feel about it. And that's what we have to do when we're going through things. So one of the other areas that we talk about is your sales skills. And we have a series called your skills, and it's either your sales skills or your leadership skills. So we talk about everything within the sales cycle, and also everything within sales leadership, how to manage the numbers, how to hire, fire, recruit, have difficult conversations, have one-on-ones, and shadow your teams. And then the third area that we primarily talk about is time management. And I will say that the reason we talk about time management as much as we do is because it is a primary area and a primary focus of what we need to do. So what I want to share with you is, how can we start leveraging our time or increasing our sales by leveraging our time? So I'm going to have 3 different areas that we're going to talk through today. And what we're going to be talking through is that we are going to have a couple of different areas that we're going to walk through. So I have some questions for you, and I manage the chat the same way Scott's going to manage the chat with me. And so feel free to unmute, ask a question, or throw it in the chat and I'll answer it as they come up. But the first question that I have for you is, do you know which activities give you the best ROI for your time based on growing your business? All right, I'm seeing Monica shake her head. No, she's like, no, actually, I don't know that. I can read head shaking too, so I'll just use you in that way. The second one is, do you know what your time is worth? Do you actually know the value of your time based on your hourly rate? And then finally, do you follow a prospecting schedule? So those are the 3 things we're going to be talking today. How, first understanding how to leverage your time, then we're going to calculate your true hourly rate, and then we're going to create a prospecting schedule. So those are the 3 areas of focus today. And I am so stinking excited to see how accurate Tony is. I see he popped in there that he's $150 an hour. And man, I am going to really look forward to you seeing if that's really where you fall. So jumping into our first area today of leveraging your time, I am going to be talking about, when we get busy, how we lose track of our time. And it's really interesting because in sales, if any of you have ever had peaks and valleys in your pipeline, where you are closing a ton of business and then you're not closing as much business, one of the things that happens is we don't stay consistent with how we're managing our prospecting schedule or our time. Because when we're really stinking busy, all we're focusing on is moving the business forward. And then when we don't have as much business, that's when we're like, oh crap, I better start prospecting. So I want to ask you this question. How long is your sales cycle? Is your sales cycle 3 weeks? Is it 3 months? Is it 3 years? Because if you went back and analyzed your sales cycle, I bet you would be able to see when your peaks and valleys happened. For example, you close a lot of business in March and your sales cycle is 4 months long. I bet you did a ton of prospecting in December. Because in December, when you were busy prospecting, 4 months later, you're closing the results of that. So if you want to eliminate those peaks and valleys in your business, one of the best ways to do that is analyze, how long is your sales cycle? The more consistent you stay with prospecting, the more consistent your pipeline will remain. So when we talk about leveraging our time, and I said that one of the things we were going to understand how to understand your time was we have to understand what our income producing activities are. And at Skillway, we break these down into 3 different areas. We're going to go much deeper on what your income producing activities are and what they mean in each one of these areas. But the first area of an income producing activity is generating revenue, closing business, right? The second area of an income producing activity, and this is why we don't call them revenue generating activities, because they really are going to increase your income, is through building relationships. So this is maintaining and retaining those relationships, that you have. And then finally, the third area is saving you time, which most of us don't necessarily focus on. So let's dive deeper into level 1 of what is an income producing activity for you. So these activities are things like prospecting, appointments, proposals, and follow-up. But just out of curiosity, how many of you are business owners or sales managers as well, in addition to a sales rep, right? So we have different things. So as a sales rep, it is prospecting, appointments, proposals, and follow-up. As a sales manager, these are things like interviews, other recruiting activities, holding one-on-ones, having pipeline management meetings, and shadowing your team. Those all fall into the generating revenue bucket. As a leader, as a business owner, entrepreneur, and leader, this is anything that contributes to the bottom line, which usually has to do with generating revenue or cutting costs. Okay? So even though we have all of these things, how much time are you actually spending on level 1, IPA, income producing activity of generating revenue? Let's talk about what level 2 was. So for those of you who are taking notes, second level of an income producing activity is building relationships. And this is with your current book of business, but this is also with your inner circle relationships, your sphere of influence, your power referral partners, whatever you might call them. And so in this, for sales reps, this is calling on your active and past book of business. This is when you're meeting with your inner circle relationships. As a manager, these are your annual reviews and your team building activities. And then finally, as a leader, an entrepreneur and business owner, this is vision, creating alignment, and executing that. So building relationships should be a very, very critical piece for every single one of you, because you know what's expensive? Replacing team members and recruiting and hiring. I mean, like, this is such a ridiculous expensive thing on our P&Ls, is all of the expenses we have in hiring, firing, and recruiting. And so if you understand that an income producing activity to you is to deepen relationships with your clients and with your team members, this is when you won't cancel your one-on-ones with your team members because you have a sales meeting. Your sales meetings are important. And so is growing that relationship with your team member and making sure that they still feel the love and they feel everything. And then level 3, income producing activity for you is saving time. And this is a pretty unique one. This one is one of those that sometimes people don't think through, because this looks like delegation, automation, planning ahead, and self-improvement. And I want to spend just a minute talking about self-improvement, because if you don't spend any time on self-improvement, this is one of the things that you need to do to invest in yourself. If you say, I'm going to say an insurance rep for 10 years, but you did nothing to improve your sales process, your sales skills, your self-development, investing in events or conferences, then basically you've been a sales rep 1 year 10 times because you never improved your practices. So self-improvement looks a lot like investing in yourself. And this is the biggest area that business owners, sales managers, and sales professionals do not spend enough time in. So today, this activity, giving me an hour of your time this afternoon, is self-development, and it's an income producing activity. So you are welcome for that. You are earning money just listening to me talk today, because you are becoming better. Now, here's the biggest thing: you have to implement it, but it makes such a big difference. In the book Effortless by Greg McKeown, McEwen, he teaches how to make things easier, and they become easy and then eventually effortless. So that's the way that Greg teaches it. He says, make things easier, which then in turn become easy and then effortless. So here's 2 questions that I'm going to throw out at you on how are you about saving your time, right? So question number 1, am I making this harder than it needs to be? You have a new system, you have a new process. Ask yourself, am I making this harder than it needs to be? The question I want you to immediately follow that up with is, how can I intentionally make this easier? Sometimes we look at things and we're like, I need to create this new process for my system, for myself. And the reason we never do anything with it is because we're like, this is obviously going to be incredibly difficult and hard. It doesn't have to be. In fact, if we ask ourselves the question, how can I intentionally make this easier? You might get it done faster. And then the other thing that we challenge ourselves with when we say, I'm going to create a new prospecting plan, or I'm going to go into this market, what is good enough? And what does done look like? What does done look like? Sometimes we say, I'm going to create this new thing. What does done look like? In order for you to check this off your box and really complete it the way that you need to, how can you do it that way? So the next piece of looking at this is I want to share with you what some of our non-income producing activities are. So our 3 income producing activities: generate revenue, build relationships, and save time. What are our non-income producing activities? Well, these look a lot like client maintenance, calendar maintenance, proposal maintenance, travel arrangements, checking our voicemail, checking our email, or submitting expense reports, calculating and verifying your commissions. And what we really need to be doing is not this during your ideal peak hours. This is the busy work that we do when we don't want to prospect. This is the easy stuff that's like, I'm going to be so stinking busy today because I'm going to be submitting my expense report and I'm going to be calculating my commissions and I'm going to check off this calendar maintenance that I have been meaning to do. Oh my gosh, we do those during our non-income producing hours. If you want to really excel, you're right, Taylor. Tony, that is an ouch. Like, that is one of those things that we do this work right here on the slide because it's easy and it makes us feel busy. But the tough stuff is the reason why you're on this, call with me today, because what we need to be doing is leveraging our time even better. Before I move on to, let's start talking about what our time is worth, are there any questions? Do any of you want to unmute or have anything in the chat you want to pop through?
This is Tony.
Hi, Tony.
You hit the nail on the head. That is very, you stepped on my toes.
I'm sorry. How can I fix it?
This is why I'm here. But these are some of the things that I find myself doing when I don't want to do the hard stuff, the prospecting. So just thanks for the reminder is what I'm going to say.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I think that that's one of the things why I love being a coach as much as I do. Brene Brown's quote where she says, we have more Brene Brown quotes. I could quote her all day long. But when she says transparency is the foundation of accountability, like, one of the things that we don't want to do is admit where we're messing up and admit where our business isn't where we need it to be. And, please, looking at the different things of what we need to do and how we need to do it. I mean, there are so many things that, yes, you do need to hear the tough stuff. But as long as I'm saying it with love, it all works out better, in the long run. So thank you for that quick question.
Dude, I gotta add, this is Scott, that's coming from one of the best salespeople I've ever met in my life, period.
Well, good.
Tony is a rock star when it comes to sales. And I think the fact that she's not afraid to admit a weakness is just one of the reasons she's so great.
That is, we all need a coach in some way or another. I can't even count how many different coaches I've had in my life, including today with, growing my own business. So I love being coachable. And sometimes when I review these things, I'm like, oh, dang, maybe I'm the one who needed the lesson on this one. Those reminders really help you. Let's jump to our true hourly rate and talk about how we're going to start calculating what our time is worth. I love that you put out there what your time is worth. And actually, this is how most people calculate their income. So for example, when you go buy a mortgage or when you go buy a home and you get your mortgage, your underwriter evaluates how much you make. And basically what they do is they take your total income and then they divide that by 2,080 hours, which is 52 weeks times 40, right? So $150,000 a year divided by 2,080 hours is $72 an hour. Okay, now we're going to do some math. So I want you to grab a calculator or grab your phone, turn your phone to your calculator, and I want you to quickly calculate out, if we did the math this way, take your 2021 income divided by 2,080, and I want you to write down what your traditional hourly rate would be right now. You don't have to share it. I mean, you can. I don't care. I don't judge. I like all hourly rates, but I want you to jot that down just for a reference, because what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how there's a better way. And this is what we call your true hourly rate. And this is based on the things that help you grow your business. So there are 6 steps to this. So you can write down number 1, and I want you to write down your 2021 income. So jot that down on a piece of paper. Number 1, total income 2021. Okay, how many total hours do you work each week? From Sunday to Saturday, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., whatever it is, I want you to calculate how many total hours you work. You're gonna like where I'm going with this. Traditionally, we're supposed to work, 40 to 60, somewhere in there, or 25, even better. But how many total hours do you work? Okay, remember when we talked about what your income producing activities were, right? An income producing activity generates revenue, builds relationships, and saves time. So of those total 60 hours that you work each week, how many of them do you spend on income producing activities? If you want a fair guess, it's usually about half of our time we spend on income producing activities, generating revenue, building, retaining, and maintaining relationships, and saving time. So write down that for number 3, hours spent on your IPAs each week. Okay, now instead of just calculating it on 52 hours, we don't work 50 or 52 weeks. We don't work 52 weeks a year, right? We take vacation, we take all of that stuff. So there are 52 weeks a year. However, I take 4 right off the top. So before you start calculating this out, Becky, I'm going to tell you, we take off a week for the 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Those are the 4 weeks. We're going to take it down to 48. And then above and beyond those weeks, how many other weeks do you take off? So it's usually between 46 and 48 weeks that you work each year. I'm not saying you're not working during the 4th of July week. It's just hard weeks to close business. You're usually doing busy work during Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and 4th of July. So now I want you to write down for number 4, how many weeks do you work each year? Okay, this is where the math comes in. So grab your calculator and I want you to multiply number 3 by number 4. How many hours do you spend on your IPAs? And how many weeks do you work each year? So is it 20 hours times 46 weeks or 48 weeks? Your number is going to be somewhere right around 1,000. Usually is what that works out to be. Everybody with me so far? Can I get a couple thumbs up? Okay, cool. You're with me so far. This is the last step. I want you to take the total hours you work each year, right? The total annual hours, number 5. And I want you to divide number 1 by number 5. And that gives you your true hourly rate. Okay, so Moose, before you take a picture, I'm going to give you a better picture to take, on this one. So this is a fair example. So remember that person we were talking about a little bit earlier who made $72 an hour? If we did the exact same math, 150, Becky, did you just get a raise? Yes, look at it. Look at that smile on her face. She's like, heck yes, I just got a raise based.
I'm not sure. It might be going the other way.
It depends.
It depends.
It depends. Well, it shouldn't go the other way. I will tell you
Right.
that. But if you take 150,000 divided by, they work 50 total hours, but they spend about 20 on income producing activities. 20 hours a week times 48 weeks per year is 960. 150,000 divided by 960 gives you a new hourly rate. So what, when you look at that piece and you say a traditional way of calculating what your time is worth is $72. Your true hourly rate, which is based on what your income producing activities are, and as a business owner and as a sales rep, this is how you should be, going into that. That's what your time is worth from calculating your, generating revenue. So Becky, now did you get a raise? Yes. See, you had to recalculate it out, and people are like, "Whoa, it's close
to our billable rate, which I find interesting. Close.
That's really interesting. So Becky, I'm gonna ask you one more question on that. On your billable rate, what do you ask you and your team members to fill? How much of your time do you ask them to be billable?
For team members, it's not quite 100% because there's admin involved.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And they don't really do sales. They do the work.
Yeah.
Client work. For us, it's going back to that peak and valley that you talked about.
Yeah.
The owners.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that I say whenever my clients are talking about what their billable rate is and how much time, there's an excellent book I recommend everyone read who has that in their repertoire, your own book of business. The book is called Slack. I know there's now an app that we use regularly called Slack, but the book is called Slack. And one of the reasons why we don't want to bill to 100%, we want to have some slack in our billable, is so when those big projects come up, you have room in your business to take them on. This is especially in, development or in some other areas. And looking at it, from that standpoint, one of the other things that I say about that is in the book, they reference 80 hours a week or 80% is what you're wanting your team to be billing at. So that'd be about 32 hours a week. Okay. I have some people questioning some things. I'd love for you to unmute. Tony, Batista. Oh gosh, what a fun last name. Tony Batista. Will you unmute and ask your question? What about the cost of what I don't do when I'm attending to something else and something else? So I'm going to assume that maybe you can't unmute right now. So I'll answer the question for you. Those are non-income producing activities. Unfortunately, like as a sales rep and as a business owner, we have those no matter what. We're just not making any money during those times.
So can you hear me okay now?
I can, Tony.
Yeah, very well, very well. So I'll speak. I do quite well by talking. So I'll speak what my question is. So if I go attend to one of my customers, let's just say, and I'm the business owner. So as you said earlier, I not only do what I need to do, but I'll become a sales rep when necessary, and I'll go do whatever needs to be done. But while I'm attending to the one customer, then I'm not doing what I was supposed to do. So I feel that there's a cost for that part of it, because eventually, obviously, and that's where we turn into from 40, then we end up working 80 hours, right? So that's in part the problem.
Yes, and Tony, so what I'll actually say about that is when you're tending to a customer, that is an income producing activity number 2, which is retaining and maintaining customer and relationships. So even though you might not be closing business at that time, that is an income producing activity because you're retaining that relationship. So it is unfortunate that sometimes it does make us work more, but you are getting paid when you're retaining those relationships. Okay, Lexi, talk to me about the missing overhead component. What do you mean by that?
So in your example here, you're accounting for 20 hours of work.
Mhm.
So you're not charging for the additional 30 hours of work that people, let's say this is an employee and they're doing 20 hours worth of income producing activity, but I still pay them for 50 hours of work a week or 40 hours of work a week or whatever you say.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I can charge their time out at 156, but that's not going to actually cover the cost of that employee for me. So I understand the mentality that this is their cost when they're actually driving revenue, but it's not the cost to the company overall, because I still have to pay their healthcare. I have to pay them those other 20 hours. I have to pay, taxes on them. So their true cost, it really would be $250 an hour since they're only driving revenue 20% of the time.
So Lexi, what I'm going to say about that is with your employees that are on a fixed salary or a fixed hourly rate, this calculation doesn't work for them. And this is not in your true hourly rate of what you're making. So this true hourly rate calculation is for sales reps who drive revenue and can increase revenue. And for those of us who are business owners, who are the sales rep who is driving business and revenue. So this takes nothing into account of your overhead costs. And nor am I saying that this is what you should be billing your team members at. This is, as a sales rep, if you do this, this is what your true hourly rate could be when you are generating revenue, retaining, maintaining relationships, and saving time to become a better sales rep. Is that helpful?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So then how do we account for the other 30 hours? Jessica, that same thing. So if it is truly, this is on you growing your own personal income and revenue. This is not saying that you're not working those hours, but when I am doing calendar maintenance, for example, when I am working on a proposal and I'm trying to make the proposal look pretty, when I am doing the calculation and creating the proposal, that's an income producing activity. But when I'm just making it look pretty and creating the proposal to make it look all fancy, that's not an income producing activity. An income producing activity is something that only you can do. And then if you have a support team or you could hire this out, that's where that other piece comes into play with that. All right, let's keep it going, because as a sales rep or as a business owner, this is where you really want to be looking at, this is what my income, my hourly rate is worth based on the income producing activities that I am doing. So let's talk about how to create a prospecting schedule. And this is a pretty big topic with most of the sales reps that I talk to. And the reason that it becomes such a big topic is because we prospect inconsistently. We don't prospect every week necessarily, and sometimes we don't prospect every day. But one of the things that is really critical as a salesperson is you want to make sure that you are maintaining a prospecting schedule. So at Skillway, we teach 30 different ways that you can prospect to fill your sales funnel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share half dozen or so of them with you and then teach you how you can create a prospecting schedule that way. Now, with most sales professionals, one of the things that we suffer from sometimes is call reluctance. We don't want to pick up that big, huge, fat phone and make those dials because it feels uncomfortable, because it doesn't necessarily lead to the outcome that we want. And sometimes we get the no's, sometimes we get all of the other things, right, that we need to be doing. And one of the things that we really need to be thoughtful about is, if I am creating a prospecting schedule and if I am really going to maintain the things that I need to do, how can I create a schedule that is going to work for me? So just on a level of transparency, how many of you have ever suffered from call reluctance? Go ahead and raise your hand. Anybody suffer from, yes, I think all of us, right? In some way or another, we have all suffered from call reluctance. One of the things that why we suffer from call reluctance is because we don't prospect consistently. Prospecting is a lot like dating, right? And if you only do it every now and then, every first date that you go on feels scary, you're nervous, it never, ends the way that you want it to. And that's kind of the same results we get with prospecting. But if you're dating consistently and you're part of a dating app or whatever it might be, and you're out meeting people on a regular basis, it doesn't feel as challenging. And so one of the things that I always recommend is that if you can in any way prospect on a regular basis, life becomes that much easier. So here are some different ideas that you can use to write down on different ways to prospect. So one of the ways I'm going to share today is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably one of the top ways that all sales reps use as a way to find prospects or to fill their funnel. The second one is social media. You can use social media the same way. I separate them out, social media from LinkedIn. And the reason I do that is because they are different elephants to prospect with, but this is another way that you can prospect. Number 3 is by using your sphere of influence or your inner circle relationships. How are you specifically continuing to deepen relationships with your inner circle relationships? Number 4 is your power referral partners. Now, I specifically talk about your power referral partners in this way because what ends up happening quite often is that people are not specifically deepening relationships with their power referral partners, and they just hope that people are, gonna send business to you when they magically think of you. So we really have to look at this as who are those partners that are sending us business, and am I specifically reaching out to them in a way to grow my business? The next one, number 5, is evaluating your past no's. I don't know how often I talk to sales reps that have never gone back to the people who said no to them last quarter, 6 months ago, a year ago. They wanted to buy from you once. Are they ready to buy from you today? So your past no's should absolutely be part of your prospecting plan. And then, of course, you have new leads that are coming in, maybe from your website or something like that. And then your current clients. Most of us have a way to cross-sell to our current book of business. Do your current clients really know everything that you do in order to be that possibility, be that option for them? So when I look at my current clients, it is maybe you need to do a service call with your current clients, ask them if they're happy, ask them if there's anything else that they need, and then remind them of all of the other products and services that you can offer. Are they really utilizing all of the services that you offer? And could there be some cross-selling opportunity? So these are the 7 ideas I want to share with you up front. And then I want to share with you how you can put that into a prospecting schedule. Because one of the things that I've learned after working with sales reps for nearly 20 years is that we like variety. Is there anybody who's a free spirit and you like variety? You like to wing it every now and then and not follow the same system and process because routine is boring? Well, one of the things that we recommend you do is that you create a prospecting schedule, something like this one, where you are doing different prospecting every single week so that you can have some variety in your schedule. So on Mondays, you might prospect for new business. On Tuesdays, you might reach out to your referral partners. On Wednesday, you might reach out to your current clients. On Thursday, you use social media, maybe social media and LinkedIn. And then on Fridays, you have your past clients that you're reaching out to, or your past no's. You know, you have your past no's and your past clients that you're looking at, and creating a schedule for yourself so that every single day of every single week, you have a plan. Because then when things aren't working out for you and they're not as fun, you know, as the way that you want them to, one of the things that you can do is you can really look at it from this standpoint and say, this could be a schedule that works for me. This could be something where I really feel like I'm growing my business the way that I want to. And then you are creating variety for yourself. Now, on Tuesdays, you might not have time to prospect this week. That's fine. You can do that next Tuesday and have all of the different schedules. So what I want you to do, I'm going to put this one back up here because these are the areas that I think work best for you. But I want you to kind of play with that a little bit. How could you create Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? How could you create the different areas for growing your business and create a schedule that could work for you? So I want to see some of your ideas, or unmute. I want you to share with me, like, what are some of the areas that we're talking about right now that maybe you're not creating variety in, or maybe you don't have a prospecting schedule in that way. Who wants to unmute and share with me, or throw it in the chat?
Past no's.
Your past no's. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Who else?
Dr. Sonia has a question.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Yeah. I don't have a question, I have a response. So for me would be the creating of new leads. So yesterday I was at a ribbon cutting ceremony, and today I was a speaker for the Charleston County Division of Women and Minority Businesses. So that gave me an opportunity to get some new leads.
I love it. I love it. So you're just out shaking hands and kissing babies and creating new leads that way. And then now, one of the things that I always say about that, Dr. Sonia, is that you want to put those people at the top of your list for the next day of prospecting. So sometimes I don't even put new leads on my Monday through Friday schedule, because it's like when I get a new lead like that, they go to the top of the list. That's the reason why I look forward to prospecting tomorrow, because I can't wait to get after those new leads that I have, those new hot ones.
So,
All right.
Shannon?
Let's see who else.
Shannon.
Hey, Do.
Yes.
Always be crushing your goals. What I love about the schedule, I know there's several folks on the call that essentially have a couple of businesses, right? Some of us run our networking action groups. Some of us have other businesses and stuff. So you know, maybe working with the schedule anyway. And so it kind of feels like we're like, how do we do all this activity in a reduced time? And so this clarity of just saying, okay, even though you've already scheduled your time, but now let's actually be a little bit more intentional about what you're doing each day of the week is fabulous. So it feels simple, but I can promise you probably 99% of the people on the call did not think about it at this level of specificity. So thank you for that, Du.
Love it. Thanks, Shannon. Boost, what do you got?
hey, thank you. You're awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm an old school guy. I love the phone, and Mondays are a big call day for me. I try to make at least 30 to 40 phone calls on Monday. And I know I'm going to get a lot of voicemails. At the end of the day, it's like, hey, they hear my name, they hear my company, and they hear that, hey, I have a great idea I want to share with you. Give me a call back. Who doesn't want to hear a great idea? I try to block out at minimum at least 2 hours a day for LinkedIn, Alignable, social media. And then I feel like I'm always picking up the phone and calling people. I like to play what I call phone roulette. And phone roulette is going to my contacts and just simply flicking it, and wherever it lands, I have 12 people that I can call that I haven't talked to in a while. I love phone roulette. And it's gotten me members, it's gotten me conversations, which in turn turn to revenue generating activities. And I'm a big guy on that. So,
you know, I love that idea of phone roulette. One of the things we do with my team, my sales team here, is that every now and then we'll just throw out a name. Like, when was the last time you talked to Moose? And you're like, oh, I haven't talked to Moose. I'm calling him now. And we will do that for like creating variety. And we do it through our CRM. So I like the phone roulette even better. That's super fun.
You never know who you're going to reach, who may need you at any given time. So
Right.
I'm a guy that just loves the phone, and I prospect almost every day that ends in Y.
Oh, good. I only exercise on the days that I plan on eating. So
Yeah, right.
it's the same thing.
Dude, Moose is most world famous for being the guy it's easier to get rid of pneumonia than it is Moose.
Oh gosh. Well, I hope we don't ever compare anyone to pneumonia, but I'll take it. I see a couple of questions. Oh, go ahead. I have a couple of questions in the chat. So how much time do you recommend you prospect each day? Catherine, one of the things that I say is try for an hour a day, if you can, but even if you only get 3 hours a week, what if you only got 30 minutes a day? But for those sales reps that are like, this is your legit only full time, I try to block about 4 hours a day for prospecting, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. And then with your meetings and other appointments that you have. But for those of us who are business owners, our prospecting schedule is a little bit more varied. So there you go. Who else has a question or wants to unmute?
So I have an obvious statement to this group. For anybody who's on this call, an obvious place for new leads is network with the nation.
It is.
Just
And
saying.
the only reason I don't put like networking as one of the things that you should follow here is because that is a weekly activity that you should be doing, reaching out to your power referral partners and doing it that way, Becky. And sometimes it doesn't fit on an exact day, because I'm going to go back to what Dr. Sonia was saying and just say that goes at the top of the next day. As soon as you have that referral, as soon as you have that lead, whatever it might be, it's at the top of your list, straight to the top. Okay. So now that we've talked about how to do this, how do you maintain it? And I am a monster advocate of Friday planning. Every single week on Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock, I have an hour blocked to wrap up my week and to plan for next week. I am not ever going to advocate for creating your schedule on Sunday. And that's because the weather is beautiful and we decided to do yard work instead. Or we had our nephew's graduation that we had to attend and you didn't get to do it. If you do it the last thing before you wrap up your week on Friday or on Thursday, if you're taking Friday off, and you always do a Friday planning wrap-up session, then you don't have to worry about starting hot on Monday morning because you don't even know what your plan is. So wrap up your week, do some Friday planning, look at your schedule next week. What prospect meetings do you have? What proposals do you need to work on? What prospecting planning do you need to be doing? There's so much that you need to be doing all on its own before you even look at this and say, these are all of the different areas that you could really do. Friday review. It is the only recurring appointment I have on my calendar on Friday afternoon wrap up. And every single Friday I clean my desk. I review my calendar to see what thank you notes I have to send out. I look at next week to see what planning I have. I look at the following week. So I look 2 weeks out to say, what do I have coming up? And this is when I decide which prospecting activities am I going to do next week? Do I have to do any planning for my prospecting activities? Because one of the things that no matter what happens in your business is that I have found that if it's important, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. If it is important to you, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. If my husband walks into my office right now and says, we have to go to the emergency room, I'll be like, that is my emergency. I got to get out of here. But all of that busy work I was talking about earlier, those are not prospecting things. That should not be a priority for you. So when you know that if it's important, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. Make sure that you are looking at that. And before we go to Q&A and, you know, spend the last 10 minutes of talking through Q&A, I want to do a little tiny reminder of my 3 power tips that I want you to think through today. Number 1, create your weekly plan, prioritizing it based on your income producing activities. Number 2, keep your true hourly rate front and center. I have a coaching client whose hourly rate is $325. And what he says is, I keep that on a sticky note tagged to my monitor, because when I want to do that busy work rather than prospect, that $350 tag is sitting in front of me saying, is this worth wasting $350 over versus doing the prospecting that I could do? And when you ask yourself that tough question, it makes that prospecting a little bit easier. And then finally, implement your prospecting schedule. I don't want you to wait until Monday to implement that. Whatever you picked to implement on Thursday, do that tomorrow. Start tomorrow. The best way to implement something is by starting tomorrow and making sure that, you know, that you can go through it. So those are my 3 power tips that I want you to think through and take, because we can all attend sales training sessions over and over and over. Implementing it is the biggest thing you need to do in your business. So let's open it up for questions before we wrap it up and before we you know, move y'all on to your later Wednesday afternoon. What are IPAs again? Debbie, I will show my screen right here. IPAs: generate revenue, build, maintain, or retain relationships, and save you time. Oh, Shannon, I love that Tony Robbins quote. Change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. Dr. Sonia, thank you. I appreciate that. Did I answer everybody else's questions in the chat? I tried to stay on top of it as much as I could, but please unmute if there was anything that I missed. And for any of you who want to evaluate your business, you know, I'm going to say, let's set up some time to talk. We do free jumpstart sessions for anybody who wants to talk about coaching. We offer a 45-minute jumpstart session with you to talk about your business, see if sales coaching is an option for you. And I would be remiss if I didn't offer that to any of you. So my contact information is through the system, but I'm happy to connect with any of you if you want to send me a private message too. What other questions do you have for me?
I've got a question for you. This is Scott.
Yeah, Scott, go ahead.
A lot of people I run across, franchise owners that we train, really struggle with following up with someone that they did not hear back from. Mm-hmm. Assuming that because I didn't hear back, I make all kinds of excuses for the customer, but that gives me a reason not to follow up. Coach us up. I have my own rules. My deal is, as long as I'm nicer each time I call or each time I touch them by text or email. So usually my third communication is, hey, dude, I don't want to stalk you, but I did want to talk with you. What did you suggest to your clients around follow up when they haven't heard back from a prospect?
Scott, I was waiting for your one next statement, because this is what I find is that so oftentimes people are sending the email and the very last sentence in their email says, let me know if you'd like to talk. That's not asking for the appointment. No. If your statement doesn't end in a question mark, you didn't ask for the appointment. Do you have some time to talk this week or next? Would you have some time to click on this Calendly link and schedule some time with me? That is asking for the appointment. Too oftentimes we're just really, really nice and polite, and asking for the business or asking for the appointment isn't not being nice and polite, but we're just kind of chicken about it. And so we remain polite, and our last statement ends in a period rather than ending in a question mark that says, hey, Scott, do you have some time to connect this week? So I love your follow-up method of being nicer every time you give them a call or text message. Add a question mark. Do you have some time to talk this week or next? And one of my favorite method of following up from an email is replying to the last email you sent them with a question. Hey, Scott, I don't know if you have moved this to the top of your inbox or not. Do you have some time to connect this week or next? I never just say, do you have some time for me to call you on Thursday? Nobody has time on Thursday. I either say, do you have some time to connect this week or next? Give them a couple options. They are more likely to reply if you give them this week or next. And then they're like, next week I'm on PTO. I'm going to be out of the office this week, just trying to wrap up my week. Can we connect the last week of June? So much easier.
Good, thank you.
Yes. Anyone else?
Do I have a question?
Yeah.
When you are working with a large company and you're working with a comptroller and really they are not the decision maker, what is the best way or best question to ask in which to find out who the actual decision maker is without stepping on the comptroller's toes?
Okay, Lee, I love this question so much. This is such a big one because, again, one of the things that I do is I love when I can get someone from support staff to answer the phone for me. If a receptionist or support person answers the phone, I'm like, you know what? I don't think my records are accurate. Who is the CFO? Who is the, I have an event that's coming up, or I have a discussion I want to have with this person. Who do I need to talk to about this? And I try to get that in my prospecting time and then call back another time.
Okay.
Right. So it doesn't, so you're not like, okay, now could you connect me with Bethany, and doing it that way. And then the other statement I really love, Lee, about that is I will even say, hey, Lee, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Who is the person I need to talk to about this?
Okay.
Just say that sentence straight out.
Thank you.
This has been so cool. I'm glad y'all have given me an hour of your afternoon and hopefully created some ideas on how you can, make some more money, close some more business. I love talking coaching. I love talking about how people can make more money. I take goal setting to a contact sport level. I'm not joking. So if there's any of you who want to talk about your goals, I'd love to talk with you. Scott, I'm gonna pass it back to you.
Okay, dude, that was awesome. Thank you so much. You obviously have a passion for this. Great job. I very much appreciate it. We have so many talented members. Take a second and write in the chat any information you'd like everyone to have. And while you're doing that, again, thank you, dude, so much. It was awesome. While you're doing that, I want to introduce and ask Samantha to come off of mute. Samantha is our guest speaker next month on this same time on Sales Mastery. So Samantha's going to give us just a sentence or two about what she's planning to visit about. Thanks, Samantha.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, everybody. I'm Sam Varner. It sounds like so professional when it's Samantha, but it's Sam Varner really quickly. I am a profit coach. So we are going to talk about the money mindset and how to actually switch your beliefs and thoughts about how much money you can make, how you need to do that, whether it's even possible for you to close sales or possible for you to raise rates, that sort of thing, and how we can relate that right to building a more profitable business. So we're really going to tie those two pieces in and have that conversation next month. And I think you'll be with 1,000 prospects thanks to Do, and then we can start closing those sales right after that with that mindset piece.
I tell you, I love it. I love it. I love it. And then Mr. Lawless is going to follow that the following month. I hope you understand that this is available to your employees, not just the member of Network in Action. If you've got a next door neighbor that would benefit from this, we are all about helping people grow their business. And been a terminal entrepreneur, owned my own business for better part of 40 years. And I know it's much more difficult today than ever. So I applaud y'all for finding the time to be on here. I find it interesting that 5 of our top 6 most financially successful franchise owners carve time out of their day for this. So that's really speaks to volumes
cool.
About, people need to always sharpen their saw. And I applaud all of you for doing that. We hope we'll see you on Network with the Nation, the first Wednesday of June, back here on the 3rd Wednesday. And next week with our speaker series, we have a fantastic speaker. I'm telling you, this guy will give you tangible, concrete things to do to have a different opinion and a different outcome with LinkedIn. I was not a LinkedIn lover, but I can tell you there's been many, many changes with LinkedIn since Microsoft bought it. Many of them can help you, and this guy will help get you in the right direction, Ron Suckanek. So we look forward to that. Thank you all. Have a very safe weekend. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye. Thank you, dude.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye now.